December 15, 2019, the Philadelphia Eagles headed down to Washington, D.C. for a crucial NFC East showdown with that football team from Washington, D.C. Now, guys, as you know, your boy made the trip down there to D.C. with the rest of the Eagles fans, and we took over FedEx Field. But quite frankly, that didn't matter, guys, because this matchup was so important for the Philadelphia Eagles. Playoffs were on the line here. With them going toe-to-toe with the Dallas Cowboys for the NFC East title, there was no losing going on in this game. But the Eagles prevailed, and the Eagles got the win, and thank God, because it would have made that trip back up to Philly that much harder. Guys, I'm Parceo Philly, uniting all through sports and culture here in the beautiful city of Philadelphia, and today we're going to review the Eagles vs. Redskins matchup this past Sunday. But guys, sit back and hang tight because you don't want to miss any of this, guys. Let's get this started. Yeah! Alright guys, so if this is the first time you're tuning into my channel, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to grow Parceo Philly here in the Philadelphia sports landscape. I'm just a young Colombian American here in the city of Philadelphia who wants to make his imprint on the sports market here. I'm all about diversity and unity while uniting all the cultures that we have here.
And of course, I just happen to be a passionate Philly sports fan.
Guys, help me grow Parceo Philly here in the Philadelphia sports landscape by liking this video, subscribing to this channel, hitting the bell button for notifications, as well as sharing this video and this channel. But guys, let's get right to it here because this is such a big win here for the Philadelphia Eagles. And yet again, twice in 1 week. Yes, twice in 1 week. The Monday night game against the New York Giants and this game here against the Washington Redskins. The Philadelphia Eagles would face off against two NFC East opponents who, quite frankly, were a little bit more inferior to the Eagles, but yet they still found a way to win. And it was games that went all the way down to the wire. And the Eagles face adversity in both weeks here. But yet, this Eagles team, with all the injuries they have dealt with everyone doubting them, including some here in their own city of Philadelphia, they still find a way to win. And it was super important for the Eagles to get this win because what we would find out after this game was that the Cowboys took care of business against the Rams team, and no one saw that coming, especially me. I did not see the Cowboys taking care of business against the Rams, but Sean McVay had some bad play calls, bad coaching decisions in that game, which would not help us out. But guys, enough of the Cowboys because we have plenty to talk about them this upcoming week. This is about the Redskins here because this is a game that really, quite frankly, I know it's against the Redskins, but guys, you have to be happy with what the Eagles did here. Let's just dive into this game here, guys, because first off here, we got to look at this offense here because week in and week out, this offense has gotten most of the criticism here from all throughout the media, all throughout the city, and it's granted, this offense has not performed to what we thought we would see in the beginning of the season, but we know the injuries this team has had to deal with. It's been absolutely ridiculous, and it's really been hampering the development of Carson Wentz. But as we talked about in previous weeks here on my channel, is that we talked about how injuries are just only one factor into the Eagles' decline, and we talked about some of the fingers had been pointed at Doug Peterson. And you know, in the last 2 weeks, I saw a head coach in Doug Peterson who I see has bounced back. It's still not the ballsy Doug Peterson that I saw in the Super Bowl, but I've seen some improvements. This week, you saw the Philadelphia Eagles get back to the run game a little bit, and that eased off a little bit pressure there for Carson Wentz. And in particular here, the Eagles would go on to rush for 157 yards. We had not seen that since the Bears game. You know, we haven't seen the Eagles rush for this many yards since the Bear game, quite frankly here. And Miles Sanders would lead the charge here. He legit took this team on his back. He gave you the most offensive production out of any of the skill players on this Eagles team. Miles would finish the game with 19 carries with 122 yards. That is the most of his season here, and he would break LaShawn McCoy's single-season rushing record as a rookie running back. So that was huge there. So you already know what we're talking about here with Miles Sanders because my man broke LaShawn McCoy's rookie record. Now, I know it's been a minute since LaShawn McCoy's been in Philly, but damn, he was our best running back of all time when LaShawn McCoy was here. Now, can Miles Sanders be that? Guys, I think so. I see a running back who who fits the mold of today's day and age running back. Miles Sanders is a shifty guy, still can run in between the tackles, and with his size, that kind of helps him when you're talking about a running back running in between the tackles. He's a small, shifty back, and yet he's got some great vision that he can find any little crease and sneak right through it. He's so fast that, when you're talking about giving Miles Sanders some sweeps, some toss plays, he's got the speed to break the edge and get past the second level, and that's where he's really dangerous too, because once he gets past the second level, he's faster than some of these NFL defensive backs that we have here in this league. And his pass catching ability here as well. He's essentially a wide receiver playing that running back position. He's got some soft hands, and my man knows how to get some yak because he's a running back here. And he would have a rushing touchdown in the first half, and then in the in the second half, he would have a nice touchdown pass as well that was led by Carson Wentz. But it was a great play on Miles Sanders' behalf. When you see your quarterback, under duress and he's scrambling, he's trying to get out of the pocket, you as a receiver have to know how to position yourself. And on that touchdown pass, he went upfield. And Carson Wentz was able to find him in the corner of the end zone. And with that 15-yard touchdown pass, that would put the Eagles up 17-14 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. But this was definitely Miles Sanders' best game as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, rushing for over 100 yards, scoring a touchdown through the air and through the ground. Doug Peterson, I've been telling you for the last couple of weeks, highlight Miles Sanders, and thankfully you have. Now next week, we don't know if Jordan Howard will still be back. More than likely, he will not be, because it doesn't even seem like he'll be cleared to practice. So if he can't be cleared to practice, then he won't play. So with Jordan Howard continuously being out, a lot of the running game, the focal point of the running game has gone to Miles Sanders. But Miles Sanders is not alone here, guys, because we have a complimentary back for Mr. Miles Sanders, and that is Mr. Boston Scott. And Boston Scott, we all know Monday night, he was the jolt of energy that really sparked that comeback to help us win. And in this game, he didn't have the same impact here, but he did his part. He contributed here for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, on the ground, he wouldn't have much of an impact like he did against the Giants, but he would still have 6 carries for 26 yards. But it was on the passing game that Boston Scott was really effective here. He would have 7 catches for 39 yards. So when you're talking about Boston Scott and Miles Sanders, they're both pretty similarly in the way they're built. They're two shifty backs who are a little bit more smaller, undersized guys, but yet can still help you out on both the passing and the running game. So when it comes to making a game plan with this offense here, you gotta add a little bit of Miles Sanders, add a little Boston Scott, and that's the formula in which we are going to get some points here for this Philadelphia Eagles offense here. But let's talk about some of the other weapons here, because when you talk about the other weapons, you got to start off with one guy, and that is Greg Ward. Greg Ward Jr., the Mr. Practice Squad, Mr. Houston Cougar here. Guys, you got to realize here, Greg Ward was a college quarterback, and I remember watching Greg Ward play for Houston, and he was pretty fun to watch. And I saw a guy who put Houston on his back here, and this was a team that was trying to be this, I know recently college football doesn't do the BCS, but they were what we used to call the BCS busters back when I used to watch college football. And, when I saw him sign with the Philadelphia Eagles on the practice squad, I was excited because I saw a guy there who knows how to win, right? But he's making the transition to a new position in the NFL, on the wide receiver position. We've seen that transition, become a flawless transition with some guys. Like, on top of my head, I think Cordell Stewart, you think of Julian Edelman, guys like that who had to make the transition from QB to receiver, and it transitioned smoothly. But then you got guys like, Braxton Miller and Matt Jones back in the day with the Jaguars. Not so great transition. So Greg Ward, just from hearing him talk, guys, he's a guy who's got the right mentality here, right? He's a positive guy. When you talk to him, you can hear and you can feel the positivity, spewing from his mouth, okay? And he's a man of faith. And I'm not trying to get religious here, but it is great, when you got a guy here who has some sort of faith in God, and he really puts a lot of his successes on, his faith with God there. And, I love hearing his press conferences, his interviews. He's a very humble guy. Just because he had a huge impact here for the Eagles, it doesn't change things here. It's still back to work with him, and it's still getting back to the film room, talking to Carson, seeing how them two can get on the same page to, help this offense out, because Greg Ward is someone we're going to have to rely on here. And, in this game here, Greg would go on with having 7 catches for 61 yards and 1 huge touchdown. The game winner here. And it on that play there, it was a play that the Eagles ran before in this game for a touchdown before it went to Zach Ertz. But on that play, Carson Wentz saw that there was a lot of open space on that crossing route that Greg Ward was going to run to. And on the game-winning play that Carson Wentz threw to Greg Ward, Zach Ertz was covered, unlike the first time they ran that play for a touchdown. Carson Wentz then knew he didn't have a lot of time. He chucked that bad boy up where he knew Greg Ward was only going to get it, and it was just Greg Ward and that Washington Redskins defender. And Greg Ward got it, and he got the game winner for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was such a great moment for Greg Ward, and great moment for Carson Wentz as well here, because let's talk about Carson Wentz here, guys, because he has been under constant scrutiny throughout this whole season. A lot of people questioning whether he is the answer for us here. But I think over the last 2 weeks, you've seen a young quarterback who has bounced back, who has shooken off all that bad juju. Now, in this game, however, Carson Wentz still did hold on to the ball too long, which led to 2 fumbles there and unwarranted sacks. He was a little risky with the ball as well, trying to force some plays when it wasn't there. All right, but what I did see from Carson Wentz here in this game was I saw him actually throw the ball a little bit more accurately than he has been in the last couple weeks. We saw him overthrow guys. The ball in this game was a little bit more accurate. Now, granted, I was down there. The weather was absolutely beautiful. It was in the 50s, even the 60s. There was sunshine. So, weather really wasn't an issue here for this Eagles offense, specifically Carson Wentz. So he was able to get the ball out and throw a nice tight spiral, which really didn't affect his game too much. But, this game didn't start off, on the right note for Carson Wentz. There was a lot of 3 and outs for this Eagles offense. He missed a couple wide receivers. There was a couple drops here as well. But at the end of the day, Carson did finish this game off 30 for 43 for 266 yards. He threw 3 touchdowns. Now, guys, for all the scrutiny that he has been under, Carson Wentz now on the season has 25 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. You want to compare that to the front runner for the MVP this season? There's no question Lamar Jackson is going to win this MVP. I think we can all agree upon that. Now, Lamar Jackson is throwing 33 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. You want to go even further? How about the GOAT, the legend, Tom Brady? Tom Brady has 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He doesn't look so bad right now, does he? 2 back-to-back weeks. The Eagles put the ball in Carson Wentz and told him, go in this for us. And what did Carson Wentz do? He made crucial passes. He led a team. He put a team on his back. He made the right throws, and he got the Eagles a win in back-to-back weeks. But it's not over here for Carson Wentz, because now the division is on the line next Sunday down at the link for the Eagles. The Eagles are going to rely on him to continuously make some big plays, and you better believe that next week's game, you better believe that the next 2 games are going to come down to the wire. And as Carson Wentz going to be able to deliver then? I have my money on Carson Wentz, and I think he will. Let's look at some other contributors for the Philadelphia Eagles. How about Mr. Reliable, Zach Ertz? Had a nice touchdown here. Had 5 catches for 61 yards. You know that teams are starting to eye on Zach Ertz. He is our number 1 target. He's Carson Wentz's go-to guy. He's his safety blanket. We all know the relationship these two have had since Carson Wentz's first year in the NFL. And yet, Zach Ertz is still finding ways to get open. Doug Peterson is still calling plays that cater to Zach Ertz. And quite frankly, you're going to continue needing Zach Ertz to have big games if we're going to want to make a run here. Because we don't have many weapons. And Zach Ertz is the best we have right now. So big game from Zach Ertz. How about Dallas Goedert? He had a couple drop passes. He has been under a lot of scrutiny this year as well, because he's not what we thought he would be. We all thought, he would be another Gronk, another great tight end, just because of his body set and the way he's pretty fast for a tight end as well. He's kind of built like a NFL wide receiver, quite frankly, but it's just like a lot of what's going on with a lot of the skilled players on the Eagles this season, quite frankly, and it feels like Dallas is in his head too much at times. But in this game, what I'm really gonna think about is the 3rd and long in the 4th quarter in the game-winning drive when Dallas Goedert caught that ball one-handed, and it was a ball that wasn't supposed to go to him. But luckily he was there at the right time, caught the ball with one hand, and kept the drive moving. So big play there by Dallas Goedert. We're going to need to continue seeing those type of big plays from Dallas Goedert. He needs to step up for sure, because can't keep relying on these practice squad guys. And it's funny too because we saw Robert Davis get highlighted a lot this week. You saw the Eagles social media team put a practice video of him on social media, him running a couple of routes, catching some balls. Everyone got hype. I told you guys it was like watching Paul Turner again. The way you guys hyped it, Robert Davis, it was the same way you guys hyped up Paul Turner back in 2016. And guess what? Robert Davis didn't get one target. But brilliant idea by the Eagles there, because not only did we know, but the Redskins knew that we were thin at the wide receiver position. And we went and signed a guy that was on the Redskins roster this season. And then we highlighted him throughout the practice week and making everyone think that he was going to be a focal point of the Eagles offense. And yet, he was just a gimmick. We'd even target him once. It's so funny. But, honestly, we'll see the future of Robert Davis, because what it seemed like was just a tactic to try to fool this Bill Callahan and this Redskins coaching staff, thinking that we would make Robert Davis a focal point. But really, you can make the argument that it was Greg Ward that was a focal point here for this Eagles offense. Great job for this offense. Great bounce back week here. And it's not going to get any easier, because the defense we're going to face this week, they're going to be a little bit better than the Washington Redskins, and they're going to be a little bit more hungrier than the Washington Redskins. But guys, let's talk about our defense here, because, man, this season's so frustrating. It's funny because 1 week it's the offense sucks and the defense is keeping the team alive, and then this week it's the offense is keeping you alive and the defense is killing you. And my God, it's this constant cycle. This defense did not show up, quite frankly. Maybe they did show up, but I think kind of like the Dolphins game, they overlooked this Redskins offense. They saw on the other side a rookie quarterback behind a terrible offensive line with some unknown weapons, with an Adrian Peterson who is at the twilight of his career, you can say. But yet, they made that offensive line look like an all-pro offensive line. They made Adrian Peterson look like the Adrian Peterson in his prime. We're talking about that Minnesota Vikings Adrian Peterson when he was 24 years old, ripping defenses apart. You saw AP cutting back. You saw AP juking. You saw AP reverse fields for touchdowns. You saw Dwayne Haskins, a rookie quarterback. You do have to give credit, and I do think that Dwayne Haskins, if he has a good coaching staff to help this kid develop, I think he could be something. But yet, we're talking about a guy who's still a rookie playing with a bad team. And yet, he's still fighting out there. He's one of the only bright spots left on this Redskins offense. And we made him look like Lamar Jackson. Quite frankly, we made him look like Lamar Jackson. Dwayne was running the ball. He was throwing the ball. He looked good. He wasn't fazed by our defense whatsoever. 19 for 28, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries, 26 yards. Now, the Redskins went to some read options and some speed options that really did work pretty well to move the ball there for the Redskins. And Dwayne was comfortable when he was moving outside the pocket, when he had the running game working with Adrian Peterson. That's when he was killing us the most. Now this worries me a lot, guys, because who our next quarterback we're going to face, and that's Dak Prescott. And Dak can do what Dwayne Haskins, but better. That worries me. That really does worry me, guys. Now, what we've talked about before with this defense is this defense, not only do they overlook opponents like the Washington Redskins this week, like the Miami Dolphins 2 weeks ago, but they also don't play well when it's nice weather. And like I said, down in DC, it was beautiful. It truly was. I had to take my jacket off because it was really nice down there. And unfortunately, when it's nice weather, it allows teams to be able to do what they want in the passing game. This is a pass-happy league that we play in. And when the weather is nice, it's easier to throw the ball, which puts the Eagles' defense in bad situations, and you get what you got today. Dwayne Haskins had the most passing yards he's ever thrown for this season. He hasn't thrown for more than 220 yards this year. He threw for 260 this week. So we gave this rookie quarterback his best game. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like I mentioned, AP had a pretty solid game. He had 16 carries for 66 yards. I know he didn't kill us for 100 yards, but, this is Adrian Peterson. And you know what? He had a couple runs where he embarrassed some of our defenders. Adrian Peterson should not be doing that, guys. I'm sorry, but he should not be killing you like this. This isn't the same AP that we know and remember. Terry McLaurin for the Redskins would have 5 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. He would kickstart the scoring for the Redskins on that long first touchdown. And then you had Steven Sims who would add his 5 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown as well. So the Eagles offense allowed a total of 362 yards to the Washington Redskins. That's unacceptable, guys. And Jim Schwartz is going to have to figure out how to shore this up because, Dwayne Haskins burned you this week. Eli Manning burned you for a half last week. Ryan Fitzpatrick tore you up 2 straight years. And now with the division on the line, Dak Prescott had a pretty solid game against the Rams. You got to shore this up. Luckily, we'll be at home, and I'm for once, I'm hoping that in Philadelphia we have terrible weather. I'm hoping we get snow next Sunday. I'm hoping it's pouring rain, and I'm hoping it's 20-degree weather. I will sit in a tailgate in 20-degree weather. I got nice warm gear now, so I'm okay with it. But I need some disgusting weather on Sunday because I know the Eagles defense play better when it's terrible weather. And it's so unfortunate, but that's just the case of how it is. 37-27 was the final score, and it was quite frankly a back and forth game. We started off this game with a field goal, and then it would just go back and forth, field goal, touchdown between both teams. And then, like I said, in the fourth quarter, less than a minute left, Carson Wentz and the Eagles offense down 27-24. Would drive all the way down the field, wouldn't settle for a field goal. That's the ballsy Doug Peterson I'm talking about that I want to see. I don't want to settle for a field goal and send this to overtime against a bad Redskins team. I want to win it in regulation. Carson Wentz would find Greg Ward for that 15-yard touchdown, and that would put the Eagles up 31-27 with less than 20 seconds left in that game. And then the Redskins would get the ball back, and Dwayne Haskins would have to settle for the Hail Mary, but the Eagles' defense would get to him, and he would fumble the ball, which would find Nigel Bradham's hands, and he would run into the end zone to get a nice little touchdown. That's a good touchdown for Nigel Bradham. He always, and I love how Doug Peterson always tries to implement these guys that you got to keep the foot on the gas pedal. All right, it doesn't matter if you are up 20 points. You got to put these teams away. All right, and he got the touchdown, and it would make the score 37-27. As we have to talk about real quick, I know we take over a lot of stadiums. This Sunday was my 4th game I've ever been to with the Eagles, my 4th ever game. And my previous away game was the Tennessee Titans game last year, which let's not talk about. But we did take over Nashville. It was Nashadelphia for a week. And this week, I've never, ever seen an opposing team legit take over the opposing team's home stadium. Guys, I'm not kidding here, it was 75-25 the ratio between Eagles to Redskins fans. We took over. There was green everywhere. And at halftime, I know E-Rock made the joke on Twitter, which was pretty funny. It was pretty true. There was boos going off throughout the stadium when both teams went to the respective locker rooms, and you really couldn't tell whether the boos were for the Eagles or for the Redskins because there were so many Eagles fans. But shouldn't the Redskins be getting the boos? It's their home stadium, but No, we took over. That had a lot to do with the reason why we won this game. You know, the Eagles do feed off of us, all right? And there was so much more of us than there was Redskins fans. And that, it is really astonishing. It really is. It really boggles my mind how we took over a stadium like that. That was the case. Now, I want to talk about two guys, not just despite the fact of us taking over FedEx Field. FedEx Field in total, it really is the perfect stadium for the Redskins, okay? It's a stadium that just really has been mismanaged. It's not that old of a stadium. FedEx Field was opened in 1997. Goddamn, the Wells Fargo Center looks so much better than FedEx Field. Now, I know it's tough to compare a football to a basketball/hockey arena, but FedEx Field really does feel like we're still stuck in the 90s. Like the Redskins still are stuck in the 90s. There's rust. It just looks dirty. There's like water. There was legit water leakage on the ramp as I was walking up to my section. How does that happen? And it really is a perfect metaphor for the team. A team that, quite frankly, is still stuck in the 90s. Dan Snyder has been doing the same bullcrap to this team since he bought the team. Let me just buy some big name free agents. Let me throw my money at them. And hopefully we win that way. And this plan has failed them for 20 plus years. Josh Norman, man, got a big contract after his dispute with the Carolina Panthers. What has he done with the Washington Redskins? Just goes to show you what the Redskins have been going through. Now, I obviously don't care because I'm an Eagles fan, and it's great that the Redskins suck because it's one less team we have to worry about in the division. But, you know, as a sports fan, you know, sometimes you can't be that selfish. Sometimes you have to look back, and it's just so unfortunate. You know, football is America's sport now, quite frankly. And I want everyone to enjoy it. And for the Redskins to be this bad, and for the Redskins fans to not even feel welcome in their own stadium, that's wild. That's wild. All right, guys, but let's look forward because I don't need to explain. I don't need to tell you guys what this week is. It's Dallas week. And this Dallas week is big. I don't think it has been this big since Chip Kelly's last year, when Sam Bradford hit Jordan Matthews in overtime on the bubble wide go and got us the victory. Yeah, we couldn't finish our business that year, but this game is huge. This is for the division. This is for bragging rights. And both these teams have been playing like absolute garbage over the last month, but they just both still have a chance to make the playoffs. I'm sorry, one of these teams have a chance to make the playoffs. Both these teams are still alive right now. I will talk to you guys more about it in my preview that I'll have for this game, but I'm fucking jacked. I hate Dallas. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I hate them. There's gonna be nothing more satisfying than to get a W at home against those fucking Dallas Cowgirls. But guys, that's all I have for you this week. 37-27 the final score. Eagles beating the Redskins, and we are on to Dallas. But guys, enough about me. Let's hear you guys in the comments below. Let me know what you guys feel. How do you guys feel after this big win against the Washington Redskins? And what are you feeling going into next week against Dallas Cowboys? Let me know in the comments below. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in here to my show and my channel here, quite frankly. But we are trying to grow El Parceo Philly here in the Philadelphia sports landscape, and I could use your guys' help to grow this here. Help me out by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, hitting the bell button for notifications, as well as sharing this video and this channel. And of course, guys, you can also follow me on other platforms of social media. You can find me on Twitter at El Parceo Philly, and on Instagram I'm at LEL_Parcero, PARCERO_Philly. And until next time, I'm El Parceo Philly telling you guys, go Birds.